Okay, now, maybe we should be live now, Mr. Burns. I don't know what to tell you. With all that I said for the last 3.5 minutes, apparently it didn't connect. But maybe now it's connected. So we'll wait to see if we get any feedback from our Facebook or YouTube listeners. And the problem was, since I was in there Friday and people try connecting, and they try connecting at 10 minutes after the hour, and I'm not there, they might not ever connect on today's program. But we should be connected right now. Deuteronomy chapter 2. As I told you earlier, is that Wednesday we gave an introduction to this book, a new book that we started. We went through the first chapter on Wednesday afternoon, the second half of the Wednesday program, and then getting into Thursday, we finished off this chapter, and we get to know what is going on, what is happening in the Bible, because it's very important that we look at the Bible itself. Now, we are not discounting any books that are out there. There's people that are writing books left and right about the Bible, good books about the Bible. But what we're saying is, why don't we go straight to the source itself? And that's one of the purposes of today's program that we have here, is to go straight to the source itself, read it, give some commentary on it, see if there's any personal application, and then move on from there. So, once again, we are outside of the promised land, getting ready to get in, but Moses is going to have some parting words, and they're not going to be short. Okay? So, just to let you know, we have 30-plus chapters, I believe, in the book of Deuteronomy. I wanted to say 50, but I think that is, we have 34 chapters. It's the book of Genesis that has 50 chapters or so. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 2. Let's see if I can bring it up on the vid for you. Where is that one that I like doing? Okay, that's that one right there. And let's see if that will work. And we'll take that off, and then we'll move on from there. So Joe Gentry is on Facebook. It's working on Facebook. Dana tells me that it's online. We have Carlos that's been coming in from New York City. I'm telling you. Robin is with us. Let's see. Anthony's with us. And Jennifer, I hope you can hear us, because she got in early, and don't know if she was able to hear the first few minutes. She wasn't able to hear the first. Deuteronomy chapter 2. Here is why we came here in the morning, to go through the Bible and to go straight to the source itself. You need to listen to John Stone Street on his regular daily program called Breakpoint. And he makes some interesting points. He really does make some interesting points. And I'll just leave that to you. Now, if you're listening to KLYN, we broadcast that program at 9:15 in the morning. So if not, I believe that 99% of you know how to find the program if you don't want to wait till 9:15 or you're not within our listening area. So what is Moses doing? Moses is recapping to the new generation. It's almost, for me, it is the second generation. It is the generation of the resurrection. You know, I kind of look at this as the first generation that came out. They came out and they died in the wilderness. Physically, they died. And then up from their death came the new generation. And to me, this is like the generation of the resurrection, the new, the second, the real, then we turned. All right, let's go there. Good morning, Ignacia. Then we turned. So he's giving them the story. These people have heard the story. but they weren't there during the story. Now, maybe there was a little break in between, but those who were below 20 and stuff like this, but those who were 20 and above who had been at Kadesh, they died in the wilderness. And we don't get a lot, at least not yet. We haven't, even in the book of Numbers or Leviticus or Exodus, we don't get a lot of information from Kadesh to the east side of the Jordan. Okay? Remember, and you say, well, what are you talking about? Okay, a little disconnect there. They came up from Egypt. They went to Mount Sinai. From Mount Sinai, they went to Kadesh. Kadesh, they had the opportunity. The door was open for them to enter into the promised land. By faith, they would not enter into the promised land. So then they journeyed in the wilderness for 38 years before they get up to the east side of the Jordan. And there's not a lot of information of those 38 years, at least yet, in any of the verses that we have been through and the books that we've been through. There's not a lot of talk about this 38-year, because a little bit, but not details like we're getting now. Good morning, Kathleen. Then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness by way of the Red Sea. Now, I was looking at the end of Thursday's program, and in Thursday's program, we were talking about presumption. In fact, I found the verse in the book of Psalms that I was looking for. Psalm 19:13 talks about the sin of presumption. And the reason that we brought that up is because at the end of the first chapter, Moses is reminding the new generation that their forefathers wanted to enter in after God had already brought judgment. And by presumptuous attitudes, they said, yeah, now we'll go in. No, that's presumption. That is, in fact, the Bible calls it in one place, the great sin of presumption. So it would behoove us. You like my words this morning? Yeah. I learned it someplace. I don't know where. It would behoove us to understand what presumption is all about and how we can enter into presumptuous faith, presumptuous activity. Okay? It's a big one. We probably are doing it all the time and don't even realize it. So then Moses tells them, then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. They are not going back to the Red Sea. There was a road that was called Way of the Red Sea. So one that connected, one that they had been on already. From Kadesh, they turned back, and God begins to take them around the mountain. The Lord spoke to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for many days. Now, somewhat kiddingly, we have talked about, at least the years that I've been a Christian, and talked about the Exodus and their failure to enter in at Kadesh, another lap around the mountain. Okay? And this is where you get that. They just didn't go around Mount Seir for 38 years. But they did turn, and they journeyed into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as Yahweh spoke to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for many days. So you can say, and you remember sports. You remember being in the gym and them telling you, take another lap or take 10. Oh, my God. And you throw the ball down and you go over there, you just run around for 10 and try to cut corners. Yeah, I know what's that all about. Anyway, good morning, Yoli. Okay, glad to see you yesterday, Miss Yoli. You came in a little late and left a little early. Wasn't able to talk to you. Anyway. Another lap around the mountain. That's where you get it from. But it was a Mount Sinai. It was Mount Seir. The Lord spoke to me, and we skirted Mount Seir for many days. And the Lord spoke to me, saying, you have skirted this mountain long enough. turn northward. So from Kadesh, they went south by way of the Red Sea, a road that led to the Red Sea, not going all the way to the end of it, but they went to a place where Mount Seir is, and stayed there for many days. And the Lord spoke to Moses, and he's speaking to the new generation and saying, your forefathers skirted this mountain long enough, turning northward. And once again, I said, well, how about the ones that were under 20? Did they die, or did they, once they turned 20, die? Or do we have, well, we know Joshua and Caleb are probably over there saying, oh, we've been here before. We've done this already. They were the men of faith. Joshua and Caleb were the men of faith, and they were going to go into the land. Good morning, Mr. Doty. The Lord spoke to me saying, you have skirted this mountain long enough, turn northward. And command the people, saying, you are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau. This is all information that we have covered in the book of Numbers. Okay? But it was a previous generation. And it's important for the new generation to know their history. Where, can we learn? I believe, and the Bible tells us that we can learn from the mistakes. And we've been talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 10. I believe it says there in the 10th chapter of 1 Corinthians in the New Testament that these happened and that we can learn from their mistakes. And I believe that is part of why the reason God has Moses recounting this story, that the new generation is not going to commit the same mistakes that their fathers did. I'm going to have to look that up. Can I look it up real quick and see if it's there, or it's just something that's a figment of my imagination? He says, now these things became our examples. 10th chapter, 1 Corinthians, talking exactly about the wilderness wanderings, Israel in the wilderness. These things became our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. Get it? It's there. It's there. I got Kurt Collins up next singing Jesus Paid It All. Weather report coming up in about 4 minutes.
I hear the Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me thine all in all. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Change the leper's spots and melt the heart of stone. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Jesus died my soul to save. My lips shall still repeat, white as snow.
30 minutes after the hour, looking for a high today of 90 degrees here in Las Vegas with mostly sunny skies. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, 30% chance. After 3 o'clock this afternoon, of showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow, sunny through mid-morning, then becoming mostly cloudy, high near 89 degrees. Southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, 50% chance of afternoon showers. And then on Wednesday, right now they're showing a 70% chance of afternoon showers on Wednesday with increasing clouds, high near 85 degrees. North wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, 58 degrees is our current temperature. But not everybody's interested in Las Vegas weather, especially if you're in Amarillo. Good morning, Cindy. Or New York. Good morning, Carlos. Or I don't see Jeff with us this morning yet. Or even Santa Fe. Anyway, good morning, Flo. And good morning, Sam. And as always, good morning, Cindy from Amarillo. Anyway, Jody joined us too just now. We got the first comment from Pastor Jody in Rio Rancho. So we're points north, south, east, and west, I might add. A whole 12 of them. Let's keep on going. But with most of them, God was not well pleased. Their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Okay? He's referring to where we have been. Okay? He's referring to that situation there. And he's saying this is what happened. And I don't want the same thing to happen to you. These became our examples to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. And there's more for you to understand about what is being discussed. Back to the discussion that Moses is recounting to the new generation. You've skirted this mountain long enough. Turn northward. See, God had already spoken judgment upon them when they didn't enter into Kadesh. And then later they say, yeah, we will. Now we're ready to enter in. He said, I've already spoken. I've already brought you, you know, I'm not going to go back on my word. And command the people, verse 4, saying, you are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau. So they were in Kadesh. Took them about 2 years to get to Kadesh because they were a long time at Mount Sinai. It wasn't that long of a trek, but there were a lot of things going, a lot of preliminary things, foundational things that God had to bring into this congregation before he took them to Kadesh. It took them about 2 years to get there. They did not enter in, so it's around Mount Seir, another lap around the mountain. But, okay, you finished. Now it's time to go back. Now turn northward. Start going back toward Canaan land. And command the people, saying, you are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau. Now God wanted them to distinguish between who was an enemy and who wasn't an enemy. You're gonna be moving up toward a place to where you haven't been before, and the descendants of Esau are going to be there. Now, whether they're friendly or not, let's find out what God's determination is for them. You are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir. And they will be afraid of you, therefore watch yourselves carefully. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we have established that we have at least and maybe 3 million people in the congregation that is coming from Egypt. And all of them have been replaced because remember, we had the numbers at the beginning, 650,000 soldiers, 20 years and above, who were able of fighting age and the capacity. And then later, after everybody passed away, the numbers still stayed the same. So we still have anywhere from 2 to 3 million people in the congregation of Israel. They're coming up, okay, to where the descendants of Esau, lived. And Moses reminds the new generation that they were afraid of you when you came up. Therefore, watch yourself carefully. Do not meddle with them, for I will not give you any of their land. I will not give you any of their land, nor so much as one footstep, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. We learned that their name in the book of Numbers was the Edomites, but here it reminds us that they are descendants, the Edomites were descendants of Esau. Okay? Who was Esau? Okay? He was the eldest son, according to Smith's Bible Dictionary, and the book of Genesis will prove this out. Esau was the eldest son of Isaac. Okay? So you say, well, who is this? Who's this Esau guy and why? Well, because he was a descendant. We have Abraham, and then we have Isaac, and Isaac's first son was Esau. And he says, be careful when you pass through his land. Do not meddle with them. I wonder what the Message Bible would say instead of do not meddle with them. Well, verse 5, book of book of the Bible, book of Deuteronomy, but in the Message translation, it says, do not try to start a fight. These are not your enemies. You have to know who your enemy is and who your enemy ain't. We're going to get into the enemies, but the Edomites, the sons of Esau, were not enemies. And God specifically told these people, their fathers, when you get there, don't do it. And it's a lesson. All of these lessons, Moses is making sure that the new generation knows why. Therefore, watch yourselves carefully. Do not meddle with them. Don't start a fight with them. For I will not give you any of their land. No, not so much as one footstep, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. They've been marching around Mount Seir for quite a while now, and the Edomites, the sons of Esau, are still trembling. I mean, every day you'd look at the headlines and you find, where are they? What are they doing? How come they keep on going around? What are you going to do? They're afraid of these guys. But he says they're not your enemies. Here's a takeaway for us. We need to know who our real enemies are. Is it possible that as Christians we have determined people to be enemies that are not real enemies? Oh, that will put you back for a little while. Say, well, I just, they're related to you. I've given them this area. Don't fight with them. You shall buy food from them with money, that you may eat. You shall also buy water from them with money, that you may drink. For the Lord Yahweh your God has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He knows you're trudging through this great wilderness. These 40 years, Yahweh your God has been with you. You have lacked nothing. So, when you go to the land of Edom, you're not going to fight with them. You're going to pay for your food. You're going to go to the convenience store, and you're going to walk out with a case of bottled water. Yuck, yuck, okay? But you're not going to fight with them. You're going to be nice. You're going to be nice to the person at the convenience store. They're your family. They're related to you through Isaac. Don't forget it. They have their own property, their own covenant with God. For Yahweh your God has blessed you in the work of your hand. He says, God says you don't have to take away from your relatives. I said, what? The relatives? Yeah. We could start a whole new one on that one. Prejudging, saying hey, who and when and is that guy or that guy? Well, if he goes over there, then he must be. Well, you know what? I haven't looked into the heart of a person for quite a while to know exactly where they are with Jesus. Do you understand that? It's God who looks at the heart, not man. And if they don't cook soup the way that you cook soup, does it mean that they're not? For 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you. And when we pass beyond our brethren, verse 8, the descendants of Esau who dwell in Seir, away from the road of the plain, away from Elath and Ezion Geber, we turned and passed by way of the wilderness of Moab. So we left the Edomites, sons of Esau, and we didn't cause any trouble, even though they weren't very nice to us. If you remember the book of Numbers, they weren't very nice to Moses and the crew. Now we're going up by way of the wilderness of Moab. We turned and passed because they said, you cannot pass through our land. Well, come on, we'll want to go the short way. We'll pay. Nope. We're closing all the stores. Just like a segment of our economy and none of you know about this, even New Mexicans don't know about this, I'm sure, is that a segment of our economy is going to be closed for 6 days. Or they're not going to be able to get any inventory for 6 days, so they're going to close up. Now, you don't have to go to Walmart. Don't worry, you don't have to go to Walmart and buy a bunch of bottled water or anything like that. It shouldn't affect you. The Lord said to me, do not harass Moab. We're not going to fight with Moab, just like the same way. And you have to know when to hold them and when to fold them, ladies and gentlemen. I love old Kenny Rogers singing about you got to know when to walk away. You need to know when to run. And he said, and God is teaching his people and telling them, hey, there's enemies out there and there's others that are not enemies. Have discernment. Know who. Know when. Know why. And know where. Then the Lord said to me, do not harass Moab, nor contend with them in battle, for I will not give you any of their land as a possession, because I have given Ar to the descendants of Lot as a possession. Okay, so Esau was the son of Isaac. Lot was the nephew of Abraham. We remember Lot. You know, it was in the book of Genesis. You know the story about Lot coming with Abraham, okay, up from the land of their fathers and coming up to Canaan land, dividing the land. A lot of things happened, like Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot was involved with that. But he's your relative. He belongs to my family in a way that I have given him promises. I have given him land. And to the descendants of Lot, just like the descendants of Esau, I gave them that land that they're living in. Don't mess with them. Don't harass Moab. Verse 10, now, put your helmet on. The Emim had dwelt there in times past, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. They were also regarded as giants like the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Emim. I say, okay, what are you talking about? There were giants, okay? And if you look up in the Hebrew, the word giant is actually Rephaim. And some of your translations, they don't have the word giants. They have the word Rephaim. All the way related back to the Nephilim. if you understand what happened in the sixth, and many people talk about it today, it was kind of like, well, we don't talk about that because we don't think it. But people today are talking about the Nephilim like never before. From the sixth chapter of the book of Noah. You don't know who the Nephilim in, which many of our translations have giants. They don't have the word Nephilim. If you don't understand what the Nephilim were all about, you don't understand how the angels procreated with the daughters of men, and out of them came giants. And that was a big, big, big reason why the flood of Noah came. But not, and the Bible says that they stayed around even after the flood. The Emim, the Anakim, the Rephaim, all of these Emites, I guess we'll call them Emites. That's not a real word. That's a made-up word here on the early morning program. But all of them were descendants of the Nephilim. And when David shows up, as Saul was still king, Goliath and his brothers were part of this bloodline, a corrupted bloodline. That's why it was such a tremendous victory when David, as a young man, takes out Goliath, and all the armies of Israel were not willing to go toe-to-toe with Goliath. All of the, so it was, and I think the series, The House of David, really did a good job when it came down talking about David and Goliath. In fact, let me change gears for a little. One of these days, I would like to sit down with a bunch of people and go through The Chosen, if people know what I'm talking about, the series The Chosen, or we would go through The House of David. There's going to be another one coming up, a movie about Daniel. Real soon, it's going to be coming up next month. And I would love to be there with a bunch of people, that we would all have our Bibles open. And when it was a scriptural thing, everybody raised their hand. And they, in chapter 17 of 2 Samuel, it says that. And we say, but that's not there, but this is in the Bible. Because those are just programs. Dallas Holm will tell you, the producers of David, if you read at the beginning, they says this is just a depiction. This isn't 100% scripture. But we shouldn't get lazy and listen to John Stonestreet on Breakpoint today. We got to go back to the Word. We got to go back to the Word. Anyway, they were regarded as giants. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them. So what the lesson is here to the generation is that God had given a certain amount of territory, not Canaan land, but outside of the borders of Canaan land. God had given that territory to the descendants of Esau, and they had cleaned out the land. They had done what God wanted them to do, and they took possession of that which God had given them. Here's a takeaway. I love takeaways. Is that God wants you to take possession of that which He has given you. God wants you, to me, it's 50 miles in every direction. God wants us as His people, as His generation, in the days that we're living in, to take possession of the land. The Edomites did it. And the encouragement there is for the sons of Isaac, if they can do it, the sons of Abraham can do the same thing. If Lot can do it, so can you guys when you take your possession that God has given you and shown Him as strong. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir, but the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their place, just as Israel did to the land of their possession, which the Lord gave them. By faith, we're going to say that Israel's going to do it. Israel's going to do it. Israel's going to do it. We're going to come across some scriptures that says that the Lord did not dispossess the land all at one time. That it was going to be a continual cleansing of the land so that the new generations would know warfare. We'll just leave that on the table for right now and go on to verse 13. Now rise, cross over the valley of the Zered. So we crossed over the valley of the Zered. We left the Moabites alone. We left the Edomites alone because God told us to. But they have a lesson. They had a lesson for us. They could do it. We should be able to do it also. And the time we took to come from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed over the valley of Zered was 38 years. There you go. That's where I get that space of time from. Okay, from the time we took to come from Kadesh until we crossed over the valley of the Zered was 38 years. Add the 2 years, and that's where you get your 40 from. Until all the generation of the men of war was consumed from the midst of the camp, just as Yahweh had sworn them. Okay? God had said, you guys are going to pass away. I'm going to raise up a whole new generation. It took them 38 years for that to be accomplished. And we have a new generation. For indeed, and please understand that the takeaways are always God's. How does it apply to me personally? These are good stories. They're historic. We need to say these are our stories. We have our own battles. We have our own giants in the land, but we also have our relatives that God says you shouldn't be fighting with those people. Well, tell me who they are. And if you would get, no. Discernment. Know who and who's not. And a lot of times it's individuals. That's who it is. 38 years till all the generation of the men of war was consumed from the midst of the camp, just as Yahweh had sworn to them. For indeed the hand of Yahweh was against them to destroy them from the midst of the camp until they were consumed. Why did God kill off the fighting men, the 650,000 minus 2? Why did he kill them off? No faith. They didn't have the faith to enter in when God wanted them to enter in. So we have to raise up a faithful generation. So it was, when all the men of war had finally perished from among the people, that Yahweh spoke to me, saying, this day you are to cross over at Ar, the boundary of Moab, and when you come near the people of Ammon, do not harass them or meddle with them, for I will not give you any of the land of the people of Ammon as a possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot as a possession. Lot seems like he got himself a good chunk of property. From where did he get it? The devil didn't give it to him. They were to push the devil out and occupy the land, the descendants of Lot. Do I have to tell you that we need to knock them out of our life? We need to knock whatever doesn't belong. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. It's just part of the battle that we are fighting against. The lust. Three enemies that you have. The world, the flesh, and the powers of darkness. And God has given us weapons against. That's why we say, well, that's why Jesus said, pick up your cross. Die to self. Die to the flesh is what it's all about. You die to the flesh by picking up your cross and following Jesus. And then there's resurrection power, grace, abundant grace. Good morning, Andreita. That was also regarded as the land of giants. Ooh, there's giants there. That was regarded as the land of giants. Giants formerly dwelt there. Why don't they dwell there anymore? Because the Ammonites kicked them out. So there's all kinds of Emites that we have coined here on the early morning program. What are some of these Emites that I'm talking about? Let's go back. The Anakim, okay? The Emim. What else did we talked about that they were there? I think there was one more, and then we get up to the Zazumim, Zamzumim, more Emites. That was regarded the land of giants, where the sons of Lot came in, was regarded as. And you say, "Wow, that was really freaky stuff, man." I'm glad. Oh no, there's giants in the land today, brothers. There's giants in the land. That's where we use discernment. Huh? The mature, by reason of use, the book of Hebrews says, have learned to discern good from evil. You understand that? Right around, what is it, the 5th or 6th chapter of the book of Hebrews? The mature, by reason of use, have learned to discern good from evil. God was there. The Spirit of God was there to give them discernment. It is a gift from God to all of us. You say, I wish I had discernment. If you're born again, you have it. You just need to learn how to build it up in your life.
I will sing of my Redeemer and his wondrous love to me. On the cruel cross he suffered from the curse to set me free. Sing, oh sing of my Redeemer. With his blood he purchased me. On the cross he sealed my pardon, paid the debt and made me free. I will tell the wondrous story, how my lost estate to save. In his boundless love and mercy, he the ransom freely gave. Sing, oh sing of my Redeemer. With his blood he purchased me. On the cross he sealed my pardon, paid the debt and made me free. I will praise my dear Redeemer, his triumphant power I'll tell, how the victory he giveth over sin and death and hell. Sing, oh sing of my Redeemer. With his blood he purchased me. On the cross he sealed my pardon, paid the debt and made me free. Sing, oh sing
Fernando Ortega, I will sing of my Redeemer. Good morning, Las Vegas. Good morning to our Facebook and YouTube people that are on our channels right now. 62 degrees is our current temperature here in Las Vegas. You are listening to KLYN 90.3 FM in Cornerstone Church, on YouTube, LV Cornerstone Church, and Facebook, LV Cornerstone. Now, I need a comment from some of these people. Is it buffering? Okay, we tried to do some things to work on that buffering issue that we've had for a lot longer than I want to tell you about. If it's buffering on the radio station, you need to let me know. If it's buffering on YouTube or Facebook, you need to let me know, and we'll continue to work on it. You know, I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but we are working on it. And not only that, the quality of the video for those that are watching on the screen, is there any problems with that at all? Is it blurry or anything like that? Let's talk about the Zamzummim and their brothers, the Emites. Okay? The way we're going to do that is that we're going to go back to that screen there, and you can tell me if the vid is clear enough to where you can read it, and if it's buffering. That was regarded as the land of the giants. Giants formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zamzummim. Okay, now, once again, giants in the Pentateuch is either originally from the name Nephilim, or in other places, like in Deuteronomy 2:20, Rephaim. But the Rephaim and the Zamzummim and the Emim and all those other Emites, I think is what I was calling them, came from the Nephilim. Interesting subject. And it's your world. It's what's going on. Do you realize that the Zamzummim and the Emim and the Rephaim and all the Emites, Nephilim included, are still in your area, and they're still trying to deceive you? Do you realize that they come from the kingdom of darkness? Do you realize that they are part of the devil's plan, who comes to kill, to steal, and destroy? Oh no! Not that's in Africa. That's over there. On the other side of an ocean, someplace. Oh yeah, you've lost the battle already, thinking that way. That's why we don't fight. And then we don't even know who our relatives are. We need discernment. Here's the verse I was looking for. Let me put a bookmark there. Actually, I should put it there. That'll help us out a little bit more, because we're going to come back there right away. But we're going to go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 14, that says, solid food belongs to those who are of full age, that is, those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Discernment is a gift that the Holy Spirit that lives in the life of every born-again person and wants to manifest himself so that you can know the difference between good and evil. You have discernment. You need to know what is of darkness and what is of light. The Zamzummim, the discernment of Moses telling the people, says they're not your relatives, but the Moabites and the Edomites are. You fight against some, you don't fight against everybody. Got it? He has done the descendants. Okay, let's see what somebody's telling me over here. Okay, nothing. Was that the latest? No. And the Avim, I wonder who the Avim are. I wonder if they're related to the Zamzumim and the Anakim and the Nephilim and the Avim who dwelt, not because everybody's name doesn't end with I am, not everybody's name who does end with I am comes from the giants, but the Avim who dwelt in the villages as far as Gaza, you know where Gaza is today, they still call it Gaza. Wonder why. I wonder why they still call it Gaza. Interesting point. I'm glad you brought that subject up. I'm glad you brought that thought up so we can think about who are... And the Avim, who dwelt in the villages as far as Gaza, the Caphtorim, who came from Caphtor, destroyed them and dwelt in their places. So people are saying, you don't belong here anymore. God has given us this property. This property belongs to us. This land is our land. This land is your land. Okay, stop singing. Rise, take your journey, and cross over the Jordan. All that we've gone up to verse 23 was a history lesson that Moses is giving to the new generation. Now he looks at them eyeball to eyeball as he's standing upon his podium, got the microphone attached to his collar, and he's out over there, says, rise and take your journey and cross over the river Arnon, just the same way that the sons of Lot and the sons of Esau, the same way that they took their land. It's time for you to cross over and take your land. Rise, take your journey, cross over the river Arnon. Look, I have given into your hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Began to possess it and engage him in battle. And we know the story because from the book of Numbers, Reuben, and I believe it was Gad, I could be wrong on that one, were going to be those who were going to take that territory that was over the river Arnon on the east side of the Jordan. Take your journey. Cross over the river Arnon. Look, I have given you your hand. Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, engage him in battle. This day I will begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the nations under the whole heaven, who shall hear the report of you and shall tremble and be in anguish because of you. Here's the truth of the matter, ladies and gentlemen. The truth of the matter is that many times, we do not know how fearful the enemy. This is why the enemy, this is my closing thought over the next 2.5 minutes or so. And I believe it's an important one. Do you realize that the Emites, who are the Emites? Hello, we've talked about it. Do I have to go over it again? I don't think I do. But who are the Emites that we have coined the phrase here on the early morning program? And do you realize that God has put the dread and fear of who you are in their hearts? You have to realize that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We talked about this yesterday a little bit on our Sunday sermon where we were talking about Gog of the land of Magog. But you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that the powers of darkness are afraid when you pick up the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, your feet are shod with preparation of the gospel, and you have a shield in one arm, and you have the sword in a hand, and you're ready to battle, and you become a warrior. And this is what was happening, is this new generation. They were going to cross over the brook, the river Arnon. They were going to take out Sihon, but they're not entering into the west side of Canaan yet. But God had given them victory. The victory was in their land before they ever stepped into the land. And God was going to put the dread and fear of you upon the nations under the whole heaven. The last thing the devil wants and the demons want, oh, demons, do you believe it? You better believe I believe in them, baby. One of them had me by the throat. Do you believe in deliverance? Yes. Do you believe that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual? Yes, I do, because the Bible tells me so. Do you believe that we have an enemy? You better believe I believe that we have an enemy out there. But I also believe that God has given us victory, and we are in the battle. A battle that he won already. We are in a cleanup operation, and it's about time we realize it. And about time that you sit down with God face to face, 2 chairs, and say, God, make me a warrior, overcomer.
Sometimes